This is We the Sales Engineers Podcast, show 74.
Welcome to We the SEs Podcast, the show for sales engineers by sales engineers with your host, Ramsey Majaba. Ramsey never tried to roller skate. Hope you enjoy the show.
What's up, SE Nation? Welcome back to We the Sales Engineers. If this is the first time listening, my name is Ramsey Majaba. I'm a sales engineer out of Ottawa, Canada, and I started this podcast to be a resource for sales engineers by sales engineers, which is why I do a lot of interviews with experts in our fields and even outside our fields a little bit. I learned a ton when I do that, and I really hope that you guys learn as well. I do have a favor to ask. If you are enjoying this show and you think it's useful, I want you to do one of two things. If you want to do both, that's up to you, but my favor would be one of two things. Either tell one person about it or leave a rating and review on your podcast listening app of choice, whether it's iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, whatever it is. If you can do that, I would be very grateful because that would tell people that this is a credible show and people learn a lot from it. So today's guest is Sly Gettins. He is the director of marketing at Axonius. And Sly was in SE in the past, and I just love the way that he's moved from SE to marketing. Not the fact that he's moved from SE to marketing, just the way he did it. So if you want to know how he did it, I guess you better listen up. So let's get into the interview. Good morning, Sly. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing today?
Well, I am not so great because I just said good morning and it's 4:30 in the afternoon. So could have done better, but I'm good. Other than that, I'm good. So how has your Sunday been so far?
Sunday so far so great, man. You know, just got to get some work done. I had to catch up during the week because I was kind of sick. And I got to hang out with some family. And now I'm on this great call. So it's a great Sunday so far.
Well, don't judge too early. Like, it could get worse really quickly. So how about you go ahead and introduce yourself to the folks?
Yep, my name is Sly Gettins. Right now I'm currently a director of product marketing at Axonius. I run my own YouTube channel. I'm a technology enthusiast. I focus on cybersecurity and just understanding different technology roles in the industry and teaching people different ways how to market themselves and also how to understand how to get yourself known out there. So call me an educator, a tech nerd, and a technical marketer.
A tech nerd educating marketer.
Boom. There you go.
You
That's a mic drop right there.
Put that on your LinkedIn. Okay, we can leave, I guess. All right. So you mentioned you have your own YouTube channel. And full disclosure, the reason I wanted you on, other than you were a SE at one point and now you're in marketing, is that you have your own YouTube channel. And you do a lot of stuff about SEs and marketing and that sort of thing. Yep. So the whole point of this conversation is to talk about the benefits and how to market oneself.
Yep.
So what drove you to have your own YouTube channel to begin with?
Oh, that's a great question. So for me, I was a sales engineer at the time, or a technology consultant, a pre-sales engineer. And I found that I was having the same conversation over and over with my customers. And there weren't a lot of one-on-one training that was at my fingertips that I could provide my customers. So I went ahead and created me a YouTube channel so I can kind of break down some of the misconceptions of our product. And then also I can educate my customers before I met them. So what I would use my YouTube channel for was it'd be like prep material. I would send to my customers because I was a trainer to introduce them to the product. And then by the time I got there, I can have a different conversation with them because I broke down those misconceptions.
So a lot of sales teams would like to be the people educating the customers on site, just so they can control the environment. How has it helped you actually send the video and not be in control, although you are making the video? But how did it help you start the conversations then?
For me, I had a product that I was working on at the time that was older. So a lot of people knew that product for the older features, right? So what was happening before, I would come in, they would completely shut me down saying, we don't want to sell your product or use your product because there's newer products out there. Then I was like, well, what do you know about my product? And then they would tell me things from like 5-6 years prior, right? So my job was to say, hey, this is what the product can offer you, and this is how is it growing. Take a look at it. If you find this interesting, then we should have another conversation. So what happened was we had better leads because I created that content. So I don't know if that's answered your question.
That does answer my question, because I've run into similar situations where customers say, oh, we've seen your product, we use it, we don't enjoy it, and now we've moved on.
Yeah.
And I always had to go back to marketing and tell them, like, hey, do you have anything that I can show this customer? Because these are his pain points right now. And most of the time it was no. I just didn't think I didn't think I was allowed to create YouTube videos about it. So, like, did you ask for permission before you started doing YouTube videos about your product, or did you just ask for forgiveness after?
That's a great question. I asked for forgiveness, right? I didn't even, to be honest, I wish I could give myself credit like I thought about it. I just saw a problem and I tried to fix it. And I even take the step back to see the repercussions, because I knew for me, the potential success that could happen from it. So to answer your question, I asked for forgiveness. I saw a problem, I created a solution, and luckily it worked out for me, right? So everyone gave me cheers. There was all standing ovations, a few uncomfortable conversations, but if it had went wrong, I might have had a different conversation, right? So, it just depends. You got to know your organization, right? I knew my organization would at least let me have if I did do it already, they just tell me stop doing it. They wouldn't really get upset. Okay. So for me, it wasn't that big of a risk to take.
So you just said if it went wrong, it could be different. What could go wrong doing your own YouTube videos about your company's products?
So you got to make sure you're on brand, right? So sometimes I've realized engineers get upset at marketing. Being on the other side is the marketing has a brand, and it's a way that they go to market. So if you incorrectly position your product, now that also can create challenges for your sales team, right? So you can also get yourself in trouble with legal, right? So if I say the wrong thing or I make a promise that our product can't do, right? Now that puts our team in a disadvantage. So those are some of the areas what happened when I had conversations. It was like, hey, your messaging was luckily on brand. And then you also did a good job at explaining it, because I was an engineer, so it was easy enough. But I've seen videos just wasn't good. It wasn't on brand. Didn't make the point. And it just wasn't clear. So it was a bad representation of the company.
Okay. So was it like the videos were about, well, people can go on your YouTube. What is your YouTube channel, by the way?
Yep. So if you go to YouTube and type in Sly Gittins, I'll come right up. So my first video, I talked about it was called Mythbusters of RSA, right? So most people know RSA for the hardware token, but they don't know the other features that you can do in terms of like biometric reading, the mobile device, actual software tokens.
Sorry about that. We're back. We don't need to edit anything. We just had a technical difficulty, and Sly was telling me about his first first YouTube video called the Mythbusting RSA.
So, it was this misconceptions of RSA.
Yep.
So RSA Secure ID. So I took that video to take the time just to talk about what people think of RSA and what it actually is. And it turned out I had a lot of good viewers in the beginning, right? Maybe my execution of the video could do some polishing at the time. I didn't know anything about creating videos. The audio was kind of rough. I think I used PowerPoint to make the slides or something. So it was very amateurish, but the messaging was okay. Now looking back at it, I could have done a better job, but it worked at the time, right?
Is it still on?
It's still there. It's still there.
So people want to watch it. Like
you can go take a look at it now and see the difference in the quality of my videos and the conversation. I actually got scripts now. I actually got a better camera. Like I use like a 4K Panasonic GH5 now. Better mic, as you can see, my Yeti mic. So the production got better, the quality got better. But I think what people liked was the initiative, and it was a chance for us to actually for people to know about our product, right? Because sometimes what I find that if someone already perceives your product to do one thing, it's hard for them. They won't take the chance to go look up and learn more about it, right? So just think about your day. How many products are you dealt with looking at, right? If you deem one product to be inferior, you're not going to talk about it, right? So
Right.
this video ended up breaking down some of those barriers.
Okay. So you also did other kinds of videos on your channel that are not technology related. Like I saw one called "What is a Sales Engineer?" I think.
Yep. So what is a sales engineer? So one thing I wanted to do is talk about different technical roles that I didn't even know existed. Like especially when I was in college, I didn't know a sales engineer existed when I was in school. And I went for school for information technology. No one told me that this was a job that was out there that I can do, and then I found out that I liked it. Right. So yes, I do a lot of videos on, what is, what's that career field? What's the career interest? Or what's the top certifications? I found out if you can game the system by taking the right certifications, and you can accelerate your pay increases, right?
Yep.
So, I got a lot of friends fresh out of school with 3 certifications, starting off with like $80,000 to $100,000, and that's definitely not my story, right?
No.
So if I can help people, learn that, get into the field, or use their time more wisely in college to have an advantage when they get out, that's what I try to do on my channel.
So did you notice that what you were doing on YouTube help you on a personal level, like not career-wise, like from personal development perspective? Did it help you in any way? How?
Oh, yeah. First thing it helped me at is just framing questions, right? When you have to sit down and create a YouTube flow or a YouTube video, you got to think about the beginning, the plot, how long you're going to keep people. So help me, A, with my writing, A, with my presentation skills, B, with my engagement skills now, right? So and also with my researching skills. Before I do a video, I try to be knowledgeable about a topic. So it helped me use Google better. It helped me find, reliable other YouTubers, or do more research on company websites. So it helped me just be an overall better student. And then I use that every day, right? Just for anything. So that, for me, those are the skills that helped me out a lot with, was just my presentation skills, my ability to communicate, written or orally, and then also my ability to do research.
So for me personally, like I was talking to a gentleman on a YouTube live stream, and he has his own podcast as well, John White of nerdjourney.com.
Yeah.
And he was talking, like he has a co-host, and they were mentioning that because of the podcast, they're actually able to ask better questions to get the responses that they're looking for. Like kind of like frame it around. And that's something that we do all the time as sales engineers. Like we don't want to get a question that will have the customer say back like, no, I don't want your stuff, versus like, oh yeah, no, I think I could use your stuff. And for me personally, I find that podcast itself, because there was no video, I didn't have to see myself, but I could, whenever I heard myself after, I would cringe. Like it's bad. I used to eat my words. I would used to skip words, which is the same thing. So it's helped me recognize that I'm working on fixing it. It's not perfect. Hopefully it will be better as time goes on. But yeah, doing something like that, putting yourself out there, is nerve-wracking, but then makes you better. So
yeah, man. And also I think it helped me with rejection, right? Like sometimes I know you creating a podcast that you just excited to put out there, you put a lot of time in there, and you saw 3 people viewed it. You're like, man, was I that bad, or did I not market it correctly? Like what's the problem, right? So for me, it also helped me understand, do I need to market better? Did I not talk to my audience the right way? Did I not ask the right question and solve the right problem? Or was it content? Where do I need to develop my skill set, right? Yep. And then also being okay that every video is not going to be a home run, right? So I think that's something that helped me, right? A lot. Like my first video was good. My sales engineering video that you watched, that's the video that gets watched the most on my channel. It got like 16,000 views, right? The closest one is 3,000. Yeah. So sometimes for me, it helped me just be able to be okay with creating more content, even if my past content hasn't achieved what I deemed it to be successful. And then also help me to get creative. How do I make it interesting enough for people to want to watch it, right? Yeah. Do I need to get better at graphic designing? Or do I need to hire a graphic designer to get better thumbnails? I need help with my titles, right? So this helped me overall in my personal life to find ways, even when I'm talking to customers, how can I engage them better? How can I be more concise? How can I grab their attention? So that's what I like to do. That's what it helps me out doing.
Yeah, and the messaging, the words that you use in sequence to actually get the customer involved or not involved. There was a discussion on LinkedIn about when you finish a demo or anything, the last questions should not be any questions.
Yeah.
Because almost nobody says that. It's like more have a discussion. Like, what do you guys think about that? How can you use that? Versus any questions, which is open-ended and no one usually answers.
Yeah. I found that even when you do like comment below, how many people actually comment below when you say that on LinkedIn?
No.
0.
Yeah.
Right. So like I found like the best way is people ask rhetorical questions to end it. And then people start to naturally have a conversation. You don't got to tell them to comment, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, another tip that I got was to actually ask a question in the comments. Which kind of
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe we can end a demo by asking a question to the audience. Like about the product that starts a conversation kind of similarly. There's so many parallels, and that's why I wanted to talk about marketing and branding ourselves as sales engineers. And I want to say, go ahead.
I was going to say, as sales engineers, something else we can do a good job of is just recording ourselves. Like, so one thing I do before I get on and do one of my presentation, I will record myself just talking into that camera and just start looking at my facial cues. Or what type of words am I using? What fillers am I using, right?
Yep.
Started hearing that. So then that helps me convey the message a lot clearer before I get to that customer or before I do that YouTube channel, is try to record yourself as much as you can. And then also when your written presentation, make sure that's on point. Use Grammarly. Have a friend review it. Do anything to make sure that your writing matches the way that you speak. Because something that plagued me and still plagues me, and I'm working on it, and I'm a lot better than I was before, was my writing. I had really good presentation skills, but then my written skills wasn't up to par. So if someone's reading and they're like, well, is this guy sure he knows what he's talking about? Because he can't write a standard sentence. So are we sure we want to buy from him? So some people don't have those, but if you do, just own it, right? Yeah. Try to find ways to correct yourself. Use tools like a Grammarly or a Ginger. I think it's called Ginger is another one. That's another alternative that are the editors.
Yeah, I use Grammarly. Yeah.
And it's pretty slick.
Yeah, and speaking of recording yourself, that's actually, I've been working with people who want to interview for sales engineering jobs, and they're at the demo stage. And my last exercise for them is to record themselves and watch themselves. Although sometimes it might be depressing, but in most cases it's worked out so far. So yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, because I did that I have a business called Elevated Progression where I do resumes. And for the interview, the first thing I do is let's do like a Zoom call, and let's go over the questions that you may ask, and let's talk through it. And then I give them back that recording for them to see how they're asking those questions. Does it feel natural? Yeah. Are they engaging with me? Are they looking directly at me? Are they looking down? So we find things for them to get better. So by the time they get in front of that customer, I mean, if they're doing a video interview or if they in-person interview, they're more comfortable because they've been in that situation before. So I found that to work out a ton, helped me a lot of my interviews before I got there. So that's some helpful tips for you as well.
Yeah. So you went from SE.
Yeah.
By the way, did you enjoy the role of SE?
Absolutely loved the role. It was fun. It was great. It was something for me that I love to do. I love talking to people. I love asking questions, listening, and I love the tech part of it, right? I love doing the architecture, the demo, quoting it. And it's a very engaging opportunity. So yes, I did enjoy it.
So my question was why did you move to marketing? But I'm going to rephrase that because you enjoyed the role of sales engineering. How could you move to marketing?
Yep. So it was funny, like me taking that chance of making that YouTube channel, I found I naturally was better at marketing, right? So I found for me as a sales engineer, I'm very good at the conversational piece. And I can probably go, let's say if we go out of a level 10 in technical depth, I'm probably at a 6 or 7, right? I'm not, some guys can go into the nuts and bolts of how it works. That's never been my gift in life, right? So I found that naturally I was better at marketing. And I realized that my marketers didn't like to they didn't like to be technical. They didn't know the product. So for me, knowing the product, I could write better content from it. So I started producing content that was a little bit better. Then also for me, what helped me was my ability to just present, right? I was really good at presenting, bringing that energy. For people that don't know, I do a lot of poetry, so a lot of spoken word. So I'm able to bring that element to my presentation skills. So what helped me make that pivot was I knew a lot of social media marketing, right? And my background in school was a concentration in marketing and IT, right? But I was good at social media marketing. I built websites in the past. So when I did the videos, for me, it was just natural, right? The ability to kind of mix that creative piece to me and that technical piece. And I find that a lot of SEs that I know that have product marketing roles, well, I just said that the wrong way. A lot of product marketers have SE backgrounds, right? Because we know the product, we talk to the customers. So naturally, if you can write, right? And if you can create content, you can become a PMM. So that's one thing I found. It was a natural transition for me, just because of my written skills, my ability to present, and then also just my marketing history from before.
So did you go after the marketing role, or did YouTube put you out there?
So that's cool. So that's a good question. So what did I do? So when I created my videos, so one thing for me when I'm making a video is a flow, right? So the ideation of it, right? Creating the idea. And then the production of it, the pre-production and the production part. And then as you know, the distribution after it. So after I made my first video, I'm like, where am I going to share this? Well, first I shared it on LinkedIn. A lot of my friends are there. A lot of my customers are there, right?
Yep.
That's a professional platform. So I just embedded my YouTube video into the LinkedIn chat and LinkedIn post. And then from there, one of a VP of engineering reached out to me at the company that I was doing it, RSA. Reached out to me and said, "Hey, Sly, I loved your video. I'd like to know more." Right? The VP engineer talked for a while. He found out that I knew the product really well. I was passionate about it, and me and him just had a constant dialogue. So what happened after that? After 4 or 5 conversations, I ended up saying, "Hey, I noticed that some of your competitors have a role called a technology evangelist. Microsoft had one, FireEye had one, a few other ones had this role, or they had technical product marketing managers. They were called also.
Yeah.
But RSA doesn't. Is this something that you thought about having?" They're like, "Well, I never thought about that." So what I did is created a role. I sent them over what a role could look like. I sent them over the book. I think it was called Technology Evangelism by Guy Kawasaki, if I'm not mistaken. He's from Apple. He's the one who coined the term technology evangelist. I sent that over to him. And what happened from there is we just kept talking about it. A few months went by. He said, "Hey, Sly, I can't make a role, but but I told him, like, hey, you thought about it, you viewed it, it was fine." And fast forward, what happened is a new role opened up to be a technical product marketing, right? And that role was, when I read it, I'm like, this is my role I created for myself. So, to answer your question, it started from the distribution, me distributing on LinkedIn. And from there, one of the VPs reached out to me. But I also use Instagram, Facebook. I had Pinterest. I made a website, right? So I use all those different avenues to promote it. And then also within my technical community for RSA, I put my videos in there for people to use it. That people have questions, I can answer it with the videos I created.
So, just so you know, the title of this episode is going to be "How to Create Your Own Role."
Yeah, you can go ahead, try it out.
Dude, man, like this is awesome. This is what I love about proactive people versus reactive people. Like reactive people will just, there is no role like that. I'm just gonna suffer in here. I hate it. I don't want to work here. But what am I gonna do? I'm gonna either stay here or I'm gonna look for something else. You went ahead and actually created a role. Like although they didn't give you credit for creating the role, from what I understand, your thumbprint is all over it.
Yep. So it was the role. When I read it, it was for me. It was the role I wanted. It was a technical person who understood marketing. So when I got to RSA, I ended up doing a lot of the videos, the integration content, the data sheets, the battle cards, all the things as a sales engineer that we naturally do anyway, right? We got to know the competition. We got to know our product really well. We got to know our customer, most importantly, right? And what are their buying habits. So for me, making content like that was something I did already. And maybe, I don't know if all SEs don't do that or was just something I naturally just gravitated towards. But that's what I ended up doing in that role. So if you create your own role, think about it. How can you be frustrated with the role? You created it, right? So of course there was things that I might have not loved doing, but for the majority of it, I like doing that role. It's a really cool role.
So you mentioned this already. You knew you wanted to do this role. It's not like you went after it.
Yeah, I went after it. But at the same time, I like the job that I was at. I like that job. Like I said before in the beginning, I love being a pre-sales engineer. It was fun. I grew up in that company, but I just saw it was an opportunity for me to grow. And I'm always a person is if I see a problem, I'm going to try to solve it. That's how my mind works. So even for this director role, right? Again, they saw me from LinkedIn, for me posting a lot of videos, and also the way I wrote my LinkedIn gravitated more people to my profile, right? So they saw all my videos, like in my interview. I'm like, if you don't think I'm technical, go watch my YouTube channel.
Right.
And they just watched the YouTube channel. They saw the likes. They saw all my recommendations. And then from there, half of the interview was almost done because they knew already that I could do the role. They knew I could create content. So when they created this role for me, they knew that I'd probably be successful in it because they already seen my past history. I just call that my portfolio. They see my portfolio.
That's a very good point. A lot of SEs don't have portfolios. They just have like word of mouth of what they've done before or their resume. So
think about it for you. When you do your interviews, right? Most of the time you had, they ask you to do a demo during it, right? What if you could say beforehand, hey, check some of my demos out. So then even when you do the demo, so say if you had a cold that day and it didn't come out as clear as you wanted to, but if they could see like a Rolodex, or I don't know if people even know what Rolodex is, if they can see like a highlight reel of all the ones you did in the past, I'm
going to have to put a picture of a Rolodex over.
Yeah, put that up there for some of the younger viewers, So they can see some of those, your highlight reel. They might talk to you differently, right? So that's what I found is. And also, and I guess, I don't want to carry on anymore. You can ask the next question. I'm getting too excited.
No, go ahead, because I forgot what my question was. So cover for me.
I just was gonna say is one thing you want to do is with social media and search is for marketing yourselves. To go back is make sure when you're creating your profiles, you're creating in a way that the search engines pick it up. So when people search my name, the first thing you're gonna find is probably my YouTube channel. Then you're gonna find my LinkedIn channel. Then you're gonna find my Facebook, Instagram. You might find some of my other things out there. I created those things purposely, right? So that you will find those and know who I am, because there are other Sylvester Gittins. I know it's not that many of them, but especially if you have a very simple, like not simple, like a very
John Smith.
John Smith or a John Doe. That know that if you search, it's hard to get to your name. Get your domain. Right. One thing, I own all the Sly Gittins domain, Sylvester Gittins domain. I haven't published them yet, but that's the next thing that's coming. Right. But one thing I found that social media goes straight to the top. But the problem is sometimes you do like say John Smith, it's going to give you the top 50 John Smiths out there. So how do they know that's you? Right. Yeah. So you got to put other things there for them to know that is you. And depending on your job, right? If you got a top secret job, maybe that's not what you want to do.
Not a good idea.
So just think about, take everything with a grain of salt and apply it to your situation. But if being searched for isn't a bad thing for you, just try to own it. Don't let Google decide it for you, because they're never going to do a good job as you could do for yourself.
That's a very good point. I remembered my question earlier. So when you moved from SE to marketing, did you go straight into like director of?
No, nope. No, I did not. I moved right into it. Finish your question.
No, go ahead. Tell me.
I went from a pre-sales technology consultant, that's a sales engineer that we just called it there, into a senior technical product marketing manager role. Okay. So even though it says manager, It's still this product. I was an individual contributor. I didn't have a team underneath me. My job was just to create.
Well, yeah,
right?
you're managing the marketing of your product. You're not managing people. It's like account manager. They
Like
manage the
account
account. Yeah.
Counts. Yeah, the same thing. Yep.
A big fear that people have if they move away from sales engineering is getting a reduction in salary. Now, I don't know if you want to answer that or not, but did you get affected by it?
Me, actually, no. Well, think about it differently. So my base pay is a lot higher than the sales engineer would be.
Yep.
But they might make up on me on commission.
Yeah.
So this changed. I got more in a base salary and bonus versus a lower base salary and a higher commission salary. So, and that is for me, I probably eventually earn more as a sales engineer? Probably. If I hit all my goals consistently. But this one was not that different. At least for product market, if you look up on Glassdoor, LinkedIn Learning, PayScale, product marketing managers make a lot of money.
Yep.
So and then SEs make a lot too. So
I know a colleague of mine who was an SE who did the same move as you did. And it's all about the negotiation. Now, he basically got his base plus commission as his base salary when he moved to technical marketing. Yeah.
So when I switched from my job, I had like a 40 or 50,000 increase overall.
Yeah.
And that was my base and commission all in one as my base. And then I also had a bonus. So I ended up making more.
Yeah. So like, don't be afraid of moving. Like, I'm talking to the listeners, I guess. I'm preaching here. So forgive me if you don't like that. But it's all about the negotiation. If you would enjoy a role like that, make sure you negotiate. You're in a good position. You have leverage. You're an SE gets paid good money. If you don't get a job that is well paid, just don't move. Go look for another job. But it's out there. They're out. Basically, what you're saying and what my colleague confirmed is that better or good paying technical marketing jobs are out there.
Yep. And then also, if you got certifications, they'll pay for those. And one thing I would highly recommend, what I end up doing, is looking at other product marketers. What skills do they have? What skills I don't have, right? Highlight those. I made like a little highlight sheet of skills I didn't have. And I went to go learn that before I went to those interviews. So by the time I got to interviews, I knew what they were. So then I can have conversations about that. So then I can command more money overall, right? Yeah. So that's one thing I always do in every role. Like even this director role, it scared me to death going into this role. But I studied so much. I looked on YouTube for director of product marketing examples. I reached out to directors of product marketing, asked them questions. I looked at their profiles. I looked up so many different terms that I had no idea even existed that I know now, right? So don't be afraid if the role is a little bit outside your comfort zone. And then with Google, man, it makes it so easy. You can learn whatever you want. Mostly anything you want, you can find it on Google if you search well enough. Right, or just asking people, So
that's what you're saying is amazing. Like I have, like if you go to wetheSalesEngineers.com/career builder, I have a free email course where you get like 5 email drips, and a lot of it is go connect with other people who in their role that you want to be, ask them about that role and learn from it.
Yep.
And pretty much what you did, you didn't need my help for that, so I can't take credit. Although I would want to, but I can't. So why were you afraid of that role?
Just because in my past corporate career, I have never have to lead someone, right? I didn't have to. I was a leader of myself.
Yep.
I know how to make myself work because I know how, I know that I like to work hard, right? Not hard, smart. I'm willing to put in extra hours. Sometimes when you have to lead someone else, how do you inspire them? And maybe that starts with hiring the right people, right? I just knew it was some skills that I needed to develop. And for me I just took it as a challenge to learn those skills, right? So what I found is I ended up getting a coach and someone that I can talk to build those skills that I didn't have. And before I even went to my coach, I made sure that I identified those skills or lack of skills I didn't have. And then I made a plan. So for me, it was just having to lead someone, being responsible for someone that's not you. Also, building a plan, right? I moved to a startup. So a lot of the processes I have to build now, right? So it's a different playing field. When I was a sales engineer, at least at my company, I know each sales engineer is different.
Yep.
The process was already built. I was just performing in the game, right? I was just executing the plan that was put in front of me. Now that I'm helping create the plans, that was a little bit scary, right? But been here for a couple of months now, and it's going well. You see how it progressed. But again, like I think what we've been saying before is, I know I don't need to do it by myself. I go out and look for help. I talk to my chief marketing officer. I talk to a lot of mentors that I have. I read a ton. Like it's to the point I'm reading like a book a week. Just I'm listening to podcasts. Anything I can get my hands on, right? Yeah. Just to learn as much as I can. So at least if I do take if I make it not the most efficient decision, I can say this is why I made that decision. This is what I read and this is what I inferred. And then what I found is usually people are usually understanding, like, all right, Sylvester, you looked at this the wrong way, but this is the way you can improve. So did I answer your question?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
So to follow up, how did you identify, like most people, if I look at my skills or the skills that I'm lacking, a lot of people can't tell what they are. We're not very self-aware. Mm-hmm. Right? So how were you able to identify those skills that you are lacking?
So what I did is I looked at the job description, and before I did that is I wrote down. So one thing that I didn't tell everyone you to go to branding is first thing I do each week is self-reflection. So after this call, I'm gonna grade myself, and I usually grade myself like a C or a B. I never get an A because I know so many. When I hear this come out, I'm like, man, why did I say like 10 times or something? Right? I go back and do self-reflection. So that's the first thing I do each week is how can I get better for this week? Time management was my main thing this week. I cut out some video games this week to focus a little bit more, right? I started wasting a lot of time on social media. But to answer your question is going back to work is I said, all right, what do I naturally love doing? I love creating. I write poems. I write TV scripts. I create any content you could think of. I like creating content, right? That's something I just do for fun, right? I write a lot. Yeah. I read a lot. I always like to learn. I'm always like to experiment. I experiment on things all the time, right? I'm like, what do I don't like to do, right? Usually, I don't manage people usually because I know sometimes they won't work as hard. So then I get frustrated that I see that how they're using their time could be improved upon, right? Yeah. So I knew that was something in me. But I'm like, well, why do I actually tell them or show them ways for them to get better? I'm like, well, I don't, right? So how can I get better at doing that, right? Who do I know in my friends who does that really well? Because one of my other buddies is a senior sales manager, and he loves mentoring people. He loves getting people who aren't maybe the best on paper, but he can build them into the right people because they got the key pieces. So then that taught me, like, all right, this guy is not only he's good at hiring, he's good at personal development. Let me go talk to him and see how does he do that, because I found that there's a whole process behind that. So to answer your question is, first I did self-reflection, then I had other people interview, like my wife. She can tell me all the things I do terrible. She knows it firsthand.
Wives tend to be honest about that.
Honest. My best friend, same thing. He's like, hey, Sly, this is where you can improve on. My brother, so on and so forth. So some key friends to tell me, all right, this is what we think that you don't do a good job of. And I look at my list. And then I also go out after I find that list is let's find people in my circle and people outside of my circle who are really good at that I think that's good at that. Ask them, how do I build these skills? So I can give you a quick example. So yesterday I was on LinkedIn, and one of the CIOs I followed talked about how artificial intelligence is going to be, they're going to pay a lot, right? So I'm saying, well, how do I even get into that, right? I don't even know how you get into artificial intelligence, right? Yep. I know deep learning, I know predictive analysis and all these other things. I'm like, someone who's not in school, how do I learn it?
Yep.
He ended up telling me that I could take a free course through Google and Facebook. And Udemy even had a cheap, like $10 class, and I signed up for it. My best friend is an electrical engineer, so I know if it's some math I don't understand, this guy knows it. So I brought him in. My older brother's good. He used to be a math major. I brought him in. So now all three of us are going to take that course together. And now I'm going to learn it because I know in the future that's going to be another skill. So what I'm saying is bring those other people who got the skills that you lack and then it can help you make you stronger, right, going forward. So I don't know if that helped or not.
It does. Like we're leveraging other people, which is something SEs do, especially generalist SEs do quite a bit. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not an expert in everything, so if I need help from somebody, I would leverage their help to get an opportunity closed or whatever it is. So
True, and that was my role. I was a generalist, right? We had like 5 products. It's impossible for these products that I had. Well, let me not say impossible. I just knew it would take me a very long time to be an expert at all these different areas, right? And
it is impossible to be an expert because, like, if it was fixed, like nothing new is coming out, sure, you can be an expert. But because, like, every time, for me, I'm in networking. Every few months, there's something new coming out. Like segment routing came out a few years ago, followed by PSAP, followed by EVPN. Like I can throw out a bunch of names. Now 5G is coming out.
Yeah.
Like I'm not even done learning for LTE, which is 4G. Now I have to study 5G.
Yeah.
How's that going to work? So like what I like to do in that sense is focus on one thing, become an expert in that, and then bring other people in to help with other areas. Like whatever my customer uses the most, that's what I focus on.
Yeah.
And others can help me there. So we're talking about SEs, and you're in marketing.
Yeah.
And you've been an SE.
Yeah.
What are the things that SE should be doing better? SEs should be doing better. That was bad grammar.
I think what you said before is in the beginning, if you remember, is asking better questions. And actually, let's asking questions to get the customer to talk. One thing that I learned at this new job is when I listened to our CEO, we had to get certified, right? Knighted, they call it. And I did my first presentation. I thought I knocked it out the park. Man, he got off. He's like, Sly, that was horrible. I'm like, what you mean it was horrible? You never asked me any questions. You asked one question and you went into your whole spiel. You didn't even listen to, you didn't even keep drilling me to get more information. You just accepted it at face value. You don't know what I wanted. How do you know I've been wanting that demo?
Yeah.
You don't, right? So one thing I think what I found that a lot of SEs don't, or at least for me, I like to say for my personal experience and the people I ran into, they don't ask the right questions up front. So what happens is we get into our routine and we think we're doing a great job, but in actuality, we didn't answer that question. So one thing is just listen, ask thought-provoking questions. And if your customer is not giving you that information, find out ways that creatively you can ask them to get that information. Sometimes I used to run in, you might need an NDA, right? So before you have that real conversation, you got to get the legal team involved, get that NDA, and then start asking those questions, right? So that's one thing I found that from being a better SC, that would be one thing. SCs for marketing themselves is I found that most SCs don't like to market themselves because it's bragging. But this is how you do it, right? I say don't brag, just highlight your skill set because you got to think about it. How many SCs is out there in the market today? How many people have the same amount of skills you have, less skills, better skills, still in college that you're competing with? So why are you the best person? So tell your story about yourself and what makes you different. And what I find when I look at people's profiles, their resumes, is they tell me the tasks that they complete, but not the value, what made them special. You know, so then when I'm looking at them side by side, someone else, and someone else can tell me that story better, I'm inclined to look at them better. You know, look at them in a different light, right? I understand them at face value. So those are the two things that I would focus on.
Right.
I don't know if you agree. What would you add on there?
Well, just let me clarify something. I'll answer your question. What would I add on there if I have anything? But when you're talking about like on LinkedIn, brag on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I just wanted to clarify that. It's not like they're going on YouTube and talking, hey, I'm the best SE in the world.
No. So I said one main thing is not bragging is I always like to just say, tell your story why you're different. I find when I look at SE profiles, they just say their task of their job, but they don't say the value. Like they will say, I delivered 15 demos. But why was that helpful? Like, did you increase business? Did you close more deals?
Yeah. Okay.
Why was that helpful? Like, just explain why you doing that a lot. And I find a lot of SEs just have a hard time doing that, you know, so.
Yeah. I one thing I would add, which was in my mind, I forgot it after I asked you a question. I find SEs. Oh yeah, we talked about leveraging other people. I find most SEs who are very technical have a
Mhm.
hard time leveraging other people. They want to do everything themselves,
Mhm.
which means they're like, I have a colleague of mine who's overworked, works from pretty much 6 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. And
Mhm.
a lot of these things that he's doing, he could be getting other people to help him. Like, it is within his purview. It's not like he's asking something that's out of line. It is
Yeah.
his right to ask specialists to help him in LTE demo
Mhm.
or whatever. So I think SEs should get better at leveraging other people. And also, uh, the second thing I would add is working with their account managers better. It's a partnership. He's not your boss. It's a partnership between you two. And you guys can have a conversation about what's the right step
Mhm.
going forward versus like he comes in like you have to demo this tomorrow. Like why? Dig in like the same way your boss said you should dig in a little bit more about why they want the product.
Yep.
SEs should dig in a little bit more about why the account manager wants to do a demo.
True.
So that's what I would add.
And question, what do you think about SEs having like what I found is when I was an SE, sometimes my account manager didn't ask the correct qualifying questions, which in turn, when I got onto the call, they didn't need any help. Like I'll get on the call, it'll be completely about something completely different.
Yeah.
So what I end up doing is creating a template for my SEs, and the SEs just use this to give this to the account manager. And now I'm like, hey, just have them answer as many of these questions as they possibly can. Because by the time I get on the phone, we don't have to waste time with these questions because I already know what to prepare for. And better yet, if you can give me this before the call, I can be prepared for the right demo to
Right.
deliver to them, you know?
Yeah.
So that's one thing I think we could do a better job at. If it doesn't already exist in your organization, create it.
Yeah.
It'll make your life so much better.
So my organization, or the ones that I've been in, I've only had one one account manager at a time.
Okay.
Which basically meant I would go with like he would qualify, as in, are they interested?
Mhm.
And that's it.
Mhm.
Then we'd go together. I'd do the technical discovery. He'd do the financial and like the account management discovery.
Yeah.
So I would have all the information. I would have gotten all the information from the get go. If
Mhm.
we have to split, I would tell him, this is the information that I need. And, we learn from each other. Like every time we were a brand new organization when we started here. So we were learning from each other of how we work together. And
Yeah.
we moved forward from there. So, but like if I
That's
was
a
a
good
manager,
distinction.
go
Yeah.
ahead.
That's a good distinction. Your viewpoint was from a smaller company. My viewpoint was from a larger organization. I had I think it was 10 different account managers, right? And we had 3 SEs. Actually, at that time, it was only me
Yeah.
with 10 account managers. So for me, I had to standardize it, how I got information. But if you got a smaller team, that could work. So that makes sense. That's a good the way to differentiate it.
So we were a big company, but
Okay.
each SE had one account manager.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I only worked with that guy. But when I work with companies, like I've talked to SEs who cover, like there's 2 SEs to cover 30 account managers. Yes.
Yeah.
And like we had this conversation before with other folks where the account manager would call them, say, hey, come on, we have to go talk to this customer and demo this. And then they'd show up and there's nothing there. They'd fly across the country.
Yeah.
And it was the wrong customer. So
Yeah.
that's when we discussed talking about like a standard template of, do they have like not the technical stuff, just do they have money? Are they interested?
Yeah. And when can they buy?
Yeah.
You know?
And then you go do the discovery, or you can do the discovery over the phone and do the demo in person, whatever the company.
That's the worst, man. I remember I did that. I flew from Florida to to Seattle. I got there. Customer like, yeah, I don't want this, and I don't want a demo. I'm like, I just flew from. At least talk to somebody, But I ended up having a free trip to Seattle. I got to see more places because we didn't have any other customers there. But again, that was a waste of time. So.
Yeah, it happens. It's happened to me where I bring in a product manager or something, and then the customer doesn't show up.
Yeah,
but
that happens.
I had qualified the customer. He was basically, that's his way of telling me, like, you know what? Screw you. I'm not interested. at all.
Okay.
Don't talk to me. So he just didn't show up, which sucked for the product manager and made me look really, really bad because I didn't qualify enough. I didn't dig in enough to understand if they're interested or not. But.
Yeah.
All right. So let's actually one more question about marketing and sales engineering. Well, how could SEs and marketing work together better?
Oh yeah, that's a really great question. From the SE side, I still start from the marketing side. Marketers themselves need to engage the SEs and figure out what they need help with. So how do I do that, right? So right now that I'm in marketing, right? I didn't start off in this product as an SE. So I know the product, but I don't know as well as my SEs do. So the first thing I did is I jump on weekly cadence calls or bi-weekly cadence calls to ask them, what are you hearing from your customers? What tools would you like to have? And what's some, I like to call it your wish list. What's on your top 10 things on your wish list you wish you had?
Okay.
And they tell me those things. So then I go back and go create them for them. So now they have everything that they want. And now we got a good baseline, right? So that helps me also. And then I also ask them, I'm like, when I'm demoing this product or the different use cases, I'm like, hey, I think I understand these use cases. Can you give me some real life examples for these use cases? Right? So that helps me as a marketer create and message the content correctly on the website, right? And then that helps when our customers go there. By the time they get back to that SE, they talk about the product more confidently. They know what it does. So now that SE can start off with like a 201 or a 301 conversation versus a one-on-one conversation. So that's one area. And also SEs, if your marketing team isn't engaging you, just reach out to them and say, hey, Sly, I know you're in product marketing. I got these use cases that customers keep asking over and over, and I don't see any tools that we have here. Can we get a call and can I talk you through some tools? I even created a draft for you, so you know what to do. Because you got to also make sure that marketer that you're talking to, they might not be technical, right? So if they're not technical, they may not be able to create that asset. So what you could do is work in tandem together to create it, because ultimately it helps you do your job a little bit better, right? So just try to reach out to her, have a conversation, join the PM marketing calls, right? Create like a little cheat sheet and a wish list. Like if you have some items that you wish you had, like a battle card, or you wish they refreshed this PDF they had from 2 years ago. That actually happened to me. That like this thing was amazing, but we don't got any of the new features on there. Can you just add the new features on there? Or you know what? One of my other SCs, what he did is, I already added the features on there. Can you just put the branding in on there and just send it out? Man, because that's taking too long to do this, right? Yeah. I just joined the team. So what I did is like, all right, cool. I took it, made it, and then all the SCs loved it, right? Yeah. So you can also take the initiative to help there. But make sure when you do that, please try to be respectful. I know they should have done it, and you might think they need to have done it, but it's how you engage with that person, I found, right? Some of my SCs are like, marketing, you're terrible. We need these things. And can you hurry up and do it? And then, feelings get hurt and they don't want to do it. So the best thing I would say, reach out. Yeah. Reach out if your team is not reaching out to you, and make a wish list. And then also talk about talk to your customers on your call. You talk to them. What do they want to see? Ask your customers, when you went to go find our solution, where did you go get that information from? Then they're like, you know what? I went to your YouTube channel. Then when you go to YouTube channel off of your company website, the earliest videos from 6 years ago, right? Maybe you might talk to your team. Hey, we need to update that YouTube, because we're finding that a lot of customers are coming through our YouTube funnel, So
that's happened to me where I talk to I see a YouTube video from 6 years ago and there's nothing new on the channel since 6 years ago. And I talk to marketing and nothing happens forever. So I guess it also depends on the marketing team, but
yeah,
you can always do what you did and just start your own YouTube channel and provide the information yourself, as long as it's on brand and not saying anything bad.
And what you also could do is, like, I look at a lot of, like, Microsoft does this really well. They got a lot of product evangelists, or they got a lot of smart guys. Think about some of the people we follow. They work for companies and they have YouTube channels, but they're so knowledgeable, right? So sometimes what you can do is maybe you talk about the problem your product solves without using your product, right?
Yep.
So you can do stuff like that. Or you can create a demo video and provide it to the marketing team and say, hey, can y'all just put on the bookends or the intros and outros for me and update this to the website? And then most of the time they just upload it if they don't got to do the work for it.
Yep.
And it depends on the marketing team, but that would also help them also. So
Nice.
that's one thing that I end up doing sometimes. Like if I couldn't get it on brand, I would just create the content, send it to my marketing team. And then if they didn't respond to me in an amount of time, I would respond again. And sometimes I was a jerk, so I would bring in the manager. I'm like, hey, I reached out to Bob, and Bob over there in marketing hasn't responded to me. 3 customers just wanted to see this video on our YouTube channel, and it's not there. What happens next? Bob calls me. Yeah. Hey, Sly, I just uploaded the video. Now you can send your customers there. So that's another way around it. You might not make as many friends, but ultimately, if it's better for the customer, it's better for the company.
But why is that a jerk move? Like that, I don't see. Like okay. I've involved managers on multiple occasions, not to be a jerk, but sometimes I just need an answer. Yeah. And if whoever I'm emailing can just say like, "Hey, I saw your email. I'll get back to you on this day." I won't have to email the manager. But True. Sometimes we need answers. So why do you think it's a jerk move? Because I feel like a lot of SEs think it that way as well.
I guess for me, like I know I wouldn't want someone to CC my manager, but like you said, is I don't use that on the first email. I usually try to give it to. I send it over. I might wait 2 days, right? If it depends on the customer, and then if they don't respond, I send another email or an instant message, like, "Hey, can you respond to me?" If they don't respond to me or they just blow me off, then I put it on there. For me, it's just uncomfortable, right? Yeah. I hate bringing the manager. But, what I found is if it's not getting done, I just got to get it done, right? But to me, it doesn't feel right because I'm rather a direct person. I'd rather just talk to you opposed to bringing in someone else. So that's why I call it a jerk move. But it's not. Yeah. It's just getting it, making things happen because in the end of the day, who's suffering? Our customer. And if our customers don't buy it, then we all don't have jobs. So to me, it's worth involving the manager if it's necessary.
Yeah, I tend to send an email, call the person, text them, and look at Jabber if they're using Jabber or Slack or whatever. And in the end, if they don't answer, and I need it, I will involve the manager. Or another thing I've done is involve the manager from the get-go and say, and CC the manager and my manager. And it's hey, I'm adding the managers here just so they know I'm requesting this of you.
Yeah. Well, so how does it turn out when you do that?
Usually I get faster answers, but I don't know what the other person's thinking on the other side, how they feel about that. I feel a little bit shady doing that. Yeah. But, try different things, figure out what works.
Yeah, and it all depends on the relationship with that person, right? Yeah. So, if you don't have a relationship, you might have to go that route, right? Because they're like, well, why am I doing this, right? What I found is when I was in marketing, I had 20 other things I needed to do. Then when the SE would call me, sometimes what they requested was so niche, it didn't apply to my other 50 use cases I'm doing. So it took a back burner. But what I realized what I had to do is I made my list public. So then when SEs looked at my schedule, they can see what I was doing, right? I'm like, hey, this is my list. I'm like, hey, I'm going to get back to you, right? But I got these 3 things I got to get done. Reach out to the other marketing rep, and I can CC you. Or if you need to get this done, can you create the content? I can edit it, and then I can just release it really quickly. But if you can wait, I probably could get to it in 2 weeks.
Yeah, but you see,
if communication is the key.
Yeah, you responded to the guy. You didn't they didn't go into a black hole. Sometimes all we need is a response that we saw the email. We could get back to you in 2 months after that, or I'm out of town or whatever. Yeah. It's funny how things tend to solve themselves. What would happen if the person is on vacation and you get an out of office response? You figure it out. You solve your own problem. You can't wait for someone, so you solve your own problem. Yeah. But anyways, it is time for the not so fi round, which is 4 questions I've asked 90% of my guests. And question 1 is going to be kind of redundant on what we're talking about today. And it is, what's the one thing you love about what you do?
The one thing I love is curating. But let me say that again. I love learning about my customer first. Learning where my customer goes. I know this sounds like a stalker, but for marketing, it's kind of what you got to do, right?
It's all about data. Yep.
I got to really understand the data. Where are they coming from? What do they want? What do they like? And I just like creating content and seeing how that makes people smile, make people learn something. Or if it's not good, it makes people question, should you be doing this, right?
Yeah.
Because then you learn something from that, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's creating content and really, really understanding that customer and trying to build empathy to know what it feels like to be in their shoes. So that's for me.
Okay. So question number 2. Other than putting a tracker on every single one of your customer, what's the one thing you would change about your job?
That's a good question. What one thing I would change about my job? It's pretty fun, man. I don't really got too much to change.
Okay.
To be honest with you, this job is pretty cool. I love it. It's fine. I don't really have a problem. I found a job that I'm able to build. So so far it's been pretty good. So.
Well, you created your job, from what I remember. Yeah. So that's good.
So,
all right. Is there a book or resource that every I was going to say every SE should read, but I'm going to change it to every SE who wants to go into marketing should read?
Oh, that's a great question. Do I have to give him one book or can I give him a couple of different books?
Do you have a list?
Yeah, I got a list. I can give you a whole reading list. I literally keep a reading list. But
give me a couple right now, and if you can send me the reading list, I'll put it on the website.
So the first thing I like to run is Seth Godin. Anything Seth Godin creates. I like one called Purple Cow.
That's on my list. I actually have it on the bookshelf over there.
Yeah, Purple Cow is a really good book. It makes you stand out. I like another one. I like another book called Made to Stick. It talks about how do you engage your customer to make your content and your process engaging, right? How did like Apple and these companies keep our attention for so long? That's really cool.
Yeah.
I also like hold on, give me 1 second. I got it on my phone.
Have you read
this ready?
Have you read Start with Why?
Yo, that's an amazing book. Start with Why. I love Simon Sinek. He's awesome. Another one I like is not KPIs. It is man. I got this book here. Give me 1 second. I'm pulling up my.
Go ahead.
If anyone can see, this is my Audible real quick. Hold on. I got another one that I just want to tell you.
Do you listen or do you read?
I do both. Okay. So what I try to do, I travel a lot. So I'm listening to a lot of audiobooks.
Okay.
And then when I'm at the gym, I listen to audiobooks. So I probably consume more audiobooks than reading, but I try to read about at least a book a month. Okay. And I might listen to like 3 or 4 audiobooks a month.
Do you take notes while you're reading?
Yes, I do. I take a lot of notes. I use my my Apple, my notes apps on my Apple device. Take all the notes so I could go back and read it. Or sometime within the actual Audible app, I will pause it and take my notes in there, and then transfer it to my my notes app.
Nice.
Another book you will like is it's called Hooked. That's a really good book also. Another book I like is about data analytics. I'm trying to find it right now. I'm really
if you can send me a picture of your Audible app with all the books.
I definitely will. Oh yeah, Permission Marketing is a good one by Seth Godin. Unleashing the Idea Virus, again, Seth Godin is a great book.
So basically everything Seth Godin.
Yes, he's solid, man. As you can tell, he's really good. Another one is How Google Works. Talks about how you build an app. And for me, I needed to understand how like the software development works and how do they actually motivate their employees to keep producing year in, year out.
Yeah.
And that was definitely a really good one. And I have one more book that I really want to let everyone know. It is called, where did it go? All right, we come back to that one.
Sure.
I can't find that book right now. I wish I should have wrote it down.
No worries, man. I get it. All right. My mom is inviting me over for dinner, so I'm working. All right. You ready for the next question?
I am ready for the next question because I cannot. Oh yeah, it's called Measure What Matters. That's another good book. That's a pretty slick book right there. Measure What Matters, and that just helps you. So for me in marketing, I'm good at creating content. What I'm not so good at is telling you if that content was successful, right? So sometimes like my videos for my YouTube channel, right? This is a good example. when I created a video, what is a sales engineer? It had 15,000 people, 15,000 views. Why? Right? Yeah. Was it the way I talk? It wasn't the best executed video. My face was in front of the video. You couldn't see my mouth. The quality wasn't that good.
I honestly couldn't see you at all.
You couldn't see me at all. You just heard a mouth talking, right? Even though it was video, right?
Yeah.
But it was quick. I talked about good content. I shared it in really good places. And what I end up doing is the keywords. I tagged in a lot of keywords to the highest. I try to pick it to the highest rated views. I put those video net titles in my keyword section. So when you search them, they instantly came to my video. So that's what helped me out the most, right? So once I figured that out, I was able to reproduce that over and over. So measure what matters, right? That's what I end up doing.
Nice. So. All right, last question of the day. What advice would you give a sales engineer or even a marketing person or a sales engineer who wants to go into marketing that you feel they don't get from anybody else?
All right. The first thing I would say is fall in love with learning, right? People don't tell you that. Like, I feel like as an SC, you have to learn on the fly often. And then when I made the switch into marketing, I had to be okay that I would have to learn something new daily, right? I'm finding new things each and every day through audiobooks, through experience. And I feel like no one really tells you that. They tell you that you got to take these certifications, which is true, but you got to be able to learn and learn quickly and then be able to use that information so you can retain it, right? Because one thing I found out when I first started doing this, I read a whole bunch of books. I never used any of the information. Didn't really know it, right? So now I'm like, that measure what matters. I'm like, well, how can I implement it? Let me see if I can start measuring my social media posts. Let me start measuring my YouTube videos. Let me start measuring how long does it take me to create a video. So when I found it, I end up making a script. The script saved me half the time. It spent me some time in the beginning to write it. But once I started recording it, it saved me so much production time. I didn't have to do that many edits anymore because I knew exactly what I needed to do. It made me adding captions a lot easier because then I didn't have to try to use YouTube's random caption.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is once you really fall in love with learning and realize that it's constantly changing, I think that would set you apart, right? Because you're never going to master everything. It's always changing. Like marketing is always changing. The platform is changing. Your customer is always changing. And I think the better we do that, the more successful we're going to be in our career. I think that's what helped me go to a director role as fast as I did, within 6 years, and maybe that's not fast. Maybe people did it faster than that. Right. So
that's good. So, all right, we're done. Last question. Where can people find you?
Find me on LinkedIn at Sly Gittins. You can find me on Instagram. I have a Sly Gittins a tech talk one. We just call Sly Gittins. You can find me on there. You can find me at Facebook, my YouTube channel, of course. I'm always on there. Ask me questions. But LinkedIn, Instagram, as well as my YouTube channel is probably the primary places that you're going to find me that have instant access. And if people still use Facebook, I have a cybersecurity group there. Okay. It's not as active as it once was. I think people are moving off that platform, but I'm still on there as well. So.
Nice. Hey man, well, thank you for your time. Thank you for being available on this Sunday.
Yeah.
I know we've been trying to do this for a while and we kept postponing, so I'm happy we're able to do this. This was fun, and thanks, man.
I love what you're doing. Thanks for reaching out, and this is going to be awesome. And keep doing it because I feel like sales engineers don't get that direct love, right? Sometimes people like sales and engineering, it doesn't match, but your platform is really solid, man. I wish I had this when I first started because I learned a lot of this on my own, and I probably could have, reduced my time of learning by watching some of your videos before. So,
well, maybe you would have never went into marketing. So
true,
it worked
it's
out
possible.
for you, I think.
It worked out, right? I'm in a better, and that's one thing I think people need to know at the end of it. Find out what you like to do, right? I found out that this for me is better. I always try to be the best SE, but I realized I wasn't as technical as everyone else, right? And I knew that was my differentiator, right? But in marketing, being technical and being able to market it with a personality, I could separate myself easily. So I think that's the main thing that in this, if I like to end it with, is self-reflection. Understand what you really want out of your job. And then once you find that out, you'll start building skills to get you closer to that job or business that you want to run in the future. So.
Awesome, man. Thanks.
Cool. Well, have a great day, man. Thanks for having me. Enjoy your Labor Day weekend.
Thank you. You too. I've been saying for a while that engineers in general, and specifically SEs, should be doing things to get themselves to stand out. Sly did it in the form of a YouTube channel, which he started as a way to help his customers. And he started adding more and more things on it that are not directly customer related. So, and that's how he was able to get a job as a marketing engineer. And although Sly loved being an SE, he used it as a stepping stone to move into something that he actually loved more. So I really enjoyed this conversation with Sly. We were looking to do a couple of things on YouTube to collaborate on a couple of different things, so stay tuned for that. Thank you, as always, guys, for sticking all the way through. I look forward to chatting with you next time. With that, this is Ramsey, signing off.